Hello, welcome to the next ReeVlog. I already recorded this part, however I then accidentally pressed the button and closed the recording, so we'll just ignore that for now. You might recognise this space as my old training room. Woo! It's now largely a storage space, but the mats are still down. I've got the day off work, and washing machine's going at home. Till that's done, I don't really have anything to do apart from the washing up. But I think it'd be more practical in the long term for my goals to do some Kungfu. So I'm here and that's what I'm going to do. This week Kungfu, I did applications of hand strikes, arm strikes and handed arm strikes, and leg strikes, which are the range of applications. Eventually you do application of hand, arm and leg strikes. And I think you might do arm and hand strikes. Which is different to hand and arm strikes, because with hand and arm you have to hand then arm, whereas arm and hand you have to arm then hand, as I'm sure you can appreciate. I still struggle with hand and arm strikes. There were a few that I learned for my grading, but I've not practiced them like at all since my grading. So here I am now, going to practice some more. Made a little list. Effectively, just what my instructor recommended me do is write out a list of all the hand strikes and all of the arm strikes which I have. They're not on my tablet. My tablet is just holding the piece of paper that I wrote them on, so it didn't get destroyed in transit. So that's what I've done. It's actually 3 sheets of paper. I've effectively got one for hand strikes, one for arm strikes, one for leg strikes, and in between hand and arm strikes I have hand and arm strikes. This is going to get confusing. The main issues I have with my applications is I don't get the opportunity to do them often enough, and for flow, it's not something that comes naturally to me, because I think in a different way to my instructor and his fellow black belt who also trains with us. In effect, I think that sort of, what's a good example? It's all against a dragon punch, so the person you're applying against is in this position. It's always right leg forward, right hand forward. So they're there, and when they punch, because they go from here, punch, they do it faster than that. But my chest should be here, and they'll have punched through it. So if I'm stood here, bam, murder. But, so an example of one that apparently flows, that my instructor just gave me free on Wednesday, is punch comes in, you move to the inside and don't get hit, double strike them in the face, and then using this part of the arm, double strike them to the neck. I don't see how that flows when very frequently when I say I hit someone in the face, it seems to be my instructor's opinion that they fly thousands of miles away and you can no longer hit them. It might be the speed, it might be, if I do it facing this way, the punch is coming in, you go forwards, like here is my guess, it's like either side of the jaw, maybe to the eyes or the cheekbones, or something like that, then you step forwards again and just follow them. Maybe, I don't know, but they said that one flows. Like they, in front of the whole class, said, you could do this. So what am I going to have on my list of ones to practice so I have a bank of them? That one, because it's already been okayed. I think that eventually, when I am a black belt myself, I'm going to review everything that I've learned, and like my instructor has done, make some changes for when I teach my students. But my instructor is my instructor, and what he says goes. That's why my original form, which started off with like versus a right cross, is now against a dragon punch. I've had to change most of it. And I'm bitter about that, but it is out of my hands, really. So, yes. So, hand and arm strikes, that's what I'm mostly here to practice, but also my other applications, because I don't get the opportunity to practice them very often. I get the opportunity to practice applications with everyone else when we do it on a Wednesday. However, I do the same applications of everyone else. So even though I've already done probably literally thousands of applications of Sun Punch, not different applications, but repetitions of applications of Sun Punch, so I've got those all ingrained muscle memory wise. And yes, you can still make incremental improvements. I would probably be better served in terms of for future gradings, not necessarily for my combat potential, by practicing not those. So when everyone else is doing application of Sun Punch, maybe I could do application of Tiger Claw. I don't like Tiger Claw very much. I've not found it particularly useful. However, I know that it has various applications. I need to show them, and the more versatility I have in my hand strikes and their applications, the more versatility I will then have in my hand and arm strikes for their applications. Similarly, when other people are practicing hand strikes, maybe I could practice arm strikes, because there's only 3, not including the black belt, people there, including me, that have arm strikes. Everyone else just has hand strikes. So, yeah. That's something that I'm going to have to attempt to negotiate with my instructor. Because it is easier, as an instructor, to just say, everybody do this. And then maybe later on just say, okay, you guys do this instead, but everyone else keep doing that. But instead of that, you could just say, everyone do this, apart from you, you do this. That'd be easier, well, as easy, nearly, and it'd be more productive for me. But I also need to book in for more sessions with my instructor at his, so we can practice the stuff that we won't do there, and focus specifically on the stuff for my grading, which nobody else does. Including the stuff from my previous grading, because on my previous grading we have floor attacks. I have no way to practice them unless I'm there. But also on the next grading, the one that I'm going for, I have foot sweeps, leg sweeps, and iron broom, which I have no way of practicing unless I'm there. And I want to focus on the next grading. I want to keep moving forwards. I don't want to stagnate. I wanted to have my black belt by next year. Like 6 years ago, I was like, yeah, 27, I'll probably have my black belt by then. No. No, I won't. Maybe 2027, but not when I'm 27. And even 2027 isn't looking particularly likely at the moment. So I'm going to try and book in 1 to 2 sessions a month throughout all of next year. Once I've sorted out my schedule a little bit, I'm going to say, hey, instructor man, can we block off these dates? Just not book anything in on those dates. Obviously, things crop up, people get ill, the emergencies happen, etc. But are you free on these dates? And can we book in as many of them that you are, because I currently am, and I'll block them off and not book anything else in on them. Any that you're not, can we try and find another one to replace it? So then that way, rather than just training once a week and then every like 3 or 4 months, getting in one session on this particular thing, which means by the time that I get to doing it, all practical skill of it is gone. Like I can practice in air elements of things. However, the actual practical application of those things is really different to practicing in air. And I need to do the practical application. Rah, rah, indeed. So yeah, I've got all the syllabi that I have on the wall still. I've got my list of hand strikes, arm strikes, leg strikes. So I'm going to be going through, doing a few applications of each and every single one today, as well as 5 hand and arm strikes. If my brother shows up at all, because he might, I'm going to ask whether I can borrow him to record the hand and arm strikes to then show my instructor, because it's much lower pressure. No doubt he'll look at the video and say, we'll go through it on Wednesday, and I'll say, fine. But you never know. Yes, that's that. Then I also have D&D, yes, that's the other main focus, because I want to do a little bit of like conditioning-y exercise whilst I'm here as well, depending on time. Obviously this recording is taking up some of the time that I intended to allocate towards these things, but I've got my skipping rope. That's the main thing. Cardio conditioning, really don't do it at all these days, but I also need to do like some core work, stuff like that. Yes, so do those, do the Kung Fu, and do my housework. They are the big things for me to get done today before I leave for D&D. Woo woo woo, going to the Isle of Champy, boo boo boo, happy about that. The issue, not everyone who I thought was going to be there is going to be there. Because if you're coming to D&D, stop watching now. After D&D this weekend, the weekend commencing this day, which is early September, first full weekend of September, that's this D&D. You can rewatch, you can watch from here after we've done this weekend session. I got everyone a little gift. I imagine my friends might have seen this coming, but we collectively have organised for some artwork to be made for the DM and printed. We've got it, we commissioned it, we got it properly printed by a art printer people on particular paper. Someone has acquired a frame for it. It's A3. However, I got everyone else an A4 copy and I framed them, just using frames that I had laying around, because it costs money to get them printed, which kind of wiped out any budget that I may have potentially had for frames. But if people want nice fancy A4 frames, they can get nice fancy A4 frames. I got them printed with a border, which I, on the A4 ones, cut off. And I cut one of them off a little far, but that's my copy. Everyone else gets their nice fancy copy that fits a frame really well, and I get the slightly squiff one. I've made it look nice, but if you ever look, like, turn it around, take the back off, there's like some packing to stop it from moving around too much, because it is a little smidgen too much. That's what the guillotine was for. But they're all wrapped up. Someone has their child's christening this weekend, so they're not going to make it. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't know the importance of christenings, really, as a somewhat anti-Christian. Not like actively anti-Christian, but mentally most of my viewpoints don't align with Christianity. I don't see the point of a christening. I also don't see, from my memory of the one time that I read the Bible, I don't see anywhere in there where a christening would be important, or where the idea came from. I don't know the history of it, but yeah. However, it's funny because I used wrapping paper that my mum had laying around, and one of them is a christening set, so I've wrapped theirs in that, and I'll give it to them when I next see them. But yeah, it's a shame they're not going to be there, because it ruins the surprise. Everyone else is going to get theirs, and they're not. But whatever, I suppose. I'm very excited about that. It's the final session for this campaign. It's gone on for, I think, like 3 years, maybe. It's reasonably long. We haven't got very high level. I think we're level 8. Maybe level 9, potentially. I don't know. But I think level 8, and I think we recently hit level 8. It's a good game. Been really fun. I've stuck with the same character throughout the whole thing. They have died, I think, 3 times. But they're alive. So I'm very excited to see how it turns out. Hopefully we win the end boss fight, because we have planned the end boss fight in a sense. It is versus the evil one. Very generic name, love it. But it's got a very much Voldemort, Cthulhu type thing. If you say their name, it gives them power. So not so much Voldemort, but you shouldn't use the name Voldemort, right? You call him he who must not be named. Similarly, the actual name, if you say it, they're more likely to wake up fully. And so we're not actually fighting the evil one, we're fighting kind of like an aspect of the evil one, with the evil one being like an elder evil god. So yes, that's going to be that, and we've planned it. DM has laid it out that there's going to be 2 fights, both of which are probably going to have multiple phases that we're going to have to do back to back. One is in the Nightmare Realm, where we kill like its spiritual form, and then one in the real world, where we kill its actual body and prevent it from escaping back to the Nightmare Realm, because we've killed it there. Yes, so we're going to do that. We've planned it. We know how we're getting to the Nightmare Realm. We know mostly who's going, because there's a limited amount of people who can go. We have set up an ambush in the real world, and a lure of some sort that I don't remember the specifics of. So it's going to be tough, but provided we don't die, like, provided we win, even if some of us die, then I'm more excited for the epilogue. Not just, not the actual playing of the game, but what happens afterwards. Because D&D is just a collective, combined story, effectively, where a lot of it is decided by random charts of dice. And to be honest, the story's going to end in 2 ways, right? We win or we lose. We've reached that point. I don't see it going a 3rd way. If it does, wow, that'll be very interesting. But more than that, if we win, what happens with our characters? Because we're not going to be playing them anymore. So I want to know how things go for them. How their relationships with NPCs go, how their relationships with one another go, how their political landscape changes, etc. I also would like to know if we lose, what happens? Because this is set in the same world as several other campaigns that the DM has ran. It isn't the most, like, there is a timeline. We have a Dragons game. Then we have a jaunty pirate hunting adventure. Then we have the Darkening. Then we have this one. Then we have school. So somewhere between this one and school, the world obviously doesn't end, because the school game exists. So if we do not beat the evil one, something else does. Or something else at least stops it from, like, doing the full, take over the world, destroy everything, annihilate existence shenanigans that we're expecting to happen. In character, obviously, we don't know that. But out of character, we do. So, what's it going to be, you know? Very excited. Okay. Other things... I think that's everything for now. There's definitely more that I could talk about, but I came here to do Kung Fu, and I've not yet. So I'm going to shut up and do Kung Fu. So I'll catch you cats on the flip-flop. Wish me luck with the Kung Fuing and D&Ding and everything. wish you luck with your own positive endeavours.